Hello, and welcome to the latest HR on the Offensive Live. It's me, Chris Howard, joined in the metaphorical studio. I mean, it's an actual studio. It's not really a studio. It's one of the latest offices by Simon Bunday from our payroll practice. So, you all right?
I'm good, yeah.
First live stream for you, not for the fabulous Julie Chowdhury, though. Julie, back again, you all right?
Yes, good, thank you.
Guys, need your help. So, for those of you that are watching this video, you may or may not be aware, but at Lace Partners, what we do as a collective is internally we come together and have a chat about interesting news stories or things that we think might be interesting to payroll professionals or HR professionals that are topical at the moment. And we came across an article from HR Grapevine talking about 500 companies who have been named and shamed as having breached national minimum wage. And Chris Kirby, one of the payroll team, reminded me that we'd actually done a podcast over a year ago with a couple of other members of the team talking about how actually it's a little bit more complicated than some kind of nefarious organizations that just decide that they don't want to pay their lowest workers and so they just decide to break the rule. There's a little bit more detail into that. So what I thought I'd do is drag you to, well, not really kicking and screaming, because I know that Julie absolutely loves it, and after today, someone's going to love it as well. Just to talk about some of this. So if I can get, maybe Simon, if you could just kick us off, and then Julie, if you can jump in off the back of this, just talk about this, because it isn't just as simple as, you know, companies saying, well, let's just pay under national minimum wage, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think before we even start, I think what we need to recognise is that whilst there is a list, a naughty list, that these are businesses that are probably related to historical breaches rather than current. So therefore, they've probably long since rectified this. And it's only now that this has come out. But yeah, lots of variables when it comes to national minimum wage. Not necessarily just this threshold that we've paid below that certain rate that needs to be applied. So complications come from deductions of pay. That can be anything from sort of expenses that benefit the employer, so things like uniform, tools, etc. But also the variable of sort of looking at working time that's been unpaid, not because we're trying to do that deliberately, but it could be things like training, changing into uniform, traveling, or doing even things like sort of pre-shift briefings, things that you don't necessarily think relate to national minimum wage, but contribute to that national minimum wage threshold. And then the other thing that notoriously gets people sort of into this threshold is apprentices and the age, and therefore when it comes to sort of keeping on top of the data and making sure we've got our reporting and analytics right, it's that we're not just looking at the data as a one-off exercise. It's making sure that annually we're doing that. So as we get the annual uplifts, the thresholds are checked. But also the thresholds are checked as and when people reach a certain age and go above that new threshold. So it's those sort of things that do catch up people.
Yeah, and so Julie, from your side, anything that popped into your mind when we were talking about this and this 500 breaches, these companies?
Yeah, look, and I think as Simon was saying, you need to kind of get your foundations in place, right? So it's not just as simple as deciding not to pay people the right hourly rate. And it's down to systems being capable and actually being able to identify pay elements being set up correctly. It's about teams understanding the impact of certain elements. There's a lot to consider. And I suppose we have our white paper where we've talked about the 7 key pillars of payroll and about getting the foundations right. And I think though, if you kind of stick to those, that will help you.
Yeah, certainly. And if you want to, you can go onto Lace Partners website, and if you just go to the insights section, you look at the white papers, then you can download that and read it and peruse the different steps that we talk about there as well. Julia, I just want to stick with you, and then Si, if you just before we wrap up on this very, very quick jump in on the national minimum wage stuff this week. Because we've just had the new national living wage, there's been some announcements. So is it worth just maybe having a minute or two talking about some of the stuff that's gone on there? And then I guess from your side, Simon, anything that kind of maybe pops out from that?
Yeah, so last week, the Real Living Wage announced the new rates that are coming into play from the 1st of May 2026. So they're increasing 6.7% nationally and 6.9% in London, which is, again, you know, it's a big hike, but there's a reason. There's 16,000 employers signed up to this. And again, it's about thinking about the third-party contractors that are associated with those businesses, because that's part of the deal with the Real Living Wage, that thinking of cleaners and caterers and stuff, they all need to be paid that. So similar to national minimum wage, you need to make sure you've got all your ducks in a row, your budgeting, your forecasting, and doing everything so that everyone is prepared for this new increase in May.
Yeah. And from your point of view, anything to kind of add on to that?
No, just re-emphasise, I suppose, that it's look at the data that you've got, making sure that when those uplifts come in, you're doing those annual checks, etc., as we discussed about earlier. So, yeah, really important.
Yeah. So, little bit more than meets the eye. Need to get, if you're a payroll professional and you're working at one of these organisations, you'll probably already be aware of some of those, some of the challenges, and also you've probably, as Simon said, maybe even overcome some of them. So a little bit of, I don't want to say sensationalising in the press, but a little bit more complexity, as always, when it comes to all things payroll and pay and reward, and initially meets the eye. But if you want to have a look at our white paper, you can certainly do that. And then hopefully you can reach out to the wonderful Simon or the fabulous Julie. Guys, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks, Chris.
Hopefully you've enjoyed this as much as we've enjoyed this little section. If you've got any questions around getting your payroll foundations in order, around some of the topics that we discussed today, please feel free to reach out to us either through LinkedIn, go onto our website, fill in there's a comment section or a contact us section, and we'd be happy to chat. But from myself, from Julie, and from Simon, thank you very much. Catch you next time on HR on the Offensive live stream. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.